Hold on. You sound a little upset. You mad, huh? My crew too fresh. You mad, huh? See us flexing in these streets. You mad, huh? Diversity of thought. You mad, huh? Educated black men. You mad, huh? Philly won the Super Bowl. You mad, huh? Dallas blew 60 mil. You mad, huh? Aggie pride in your face. You mad, huh? 5 newts in this group. You mad, huh? Welcome to You Mad, Huh? The podcast conceived out of brotherhood and presented with love. This is episode 12 of our inaugural season. And we have a couple of guests on this week. So I wanted to introduce everybody again. So, of course, we have a regularly scheduled panel of Ken Merritt. He hadn't stuck anybody up in his Omar outfit this week, I don't think. We have Quake or Raymond Cooper on. We have Anthony Humphrey, fresh off the baseball diamond, I believe. We have Tyron Bond with his lovely drink in hand. And then we have 2 guest members this week. We have Lizelle Free, who is the older brother of Richard Free, our normal panelist member. Richard is out this week. Lizelle, are you in LA this week? You're in Los Angeles, or where you at?
I am in LA this week. Yes, this week.
All right, excellent. And then we also have Dwayne Purier. He's one of my friends. I ride dirt bikes with Dwayne. Dwayne is from the Charlotte area. And welcome to the podcast, Dwayne and Lizelle.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And do you guys want to say anything else? Anything you want to highlight about yourselves? No, you good at this point? Mm-hmm. All right. Excellent.
Well, don't get shy now.
It's coming.
All right, I'm sure it is. Trust me, it's coming. So we're going to depart from our normal format this week because the main reason for this podcast was really just to get our ideas and perspectives out. It kind of originated from the groups that we normally hang out in, and in terms of we go on guys trips or just fraternity, whatever it may be. But I wanted to kind of translate those conversations somewhat to a larger audience. But the thing about the difference between these conversations that we normally have in these guys, groups of guys that I hang out with, and the broadcast is that we don't have a specific topic that we cover. We just kind of hang out and we talk about just different subjects. So what I tasked the panel with this week is for everyone to come up with questions that they wanted to ask the panelists to chime in on. Most weeks I usually decide what topic we're going to cover. They'll kind of shoot me some ideas, but this week we're going blind, and I just want the panelists to throw out questions that they want us to cover. Whether it can be the most simple question, or it can be something that's very thought provoking. That's kind of how these guys groups are when we hang out. It could be some silly stuff. It could be some serious stuff. So I think we're going to start off with someone that I know is going to have something very provocative to ask, and that's going to be Ken Merritt. So Ken, I want you to start this off this week, man.
Oh, Ray was going first.
I'm good, brother. I yield to you. Show you a little difference this evening.
Appreciate it.
Oh, and by the way, this segment is called "What Up, Yo," because that's normally what I say when I'm like, "What up, yo? What we talking about, man?"
So what up, y'all? My question to the panel is just how fucked are we? Right? We got an economy that's choppy. We got militia in the street. We got missiles flying around. I'm an optimistic person, but it feels like things are getting worse. So my question for the panel is just how fucked are we? Not fucked, or or heading to a really bad place.
Okay, so I'm going to welcome our guests and let them go first. So Dwayne, I'm going to let you chime in first, man.
I see the glass is half full. I think everything he done was really good. I think the people rioting in the streets, if you're here illegally, that's the first part of the word. If you ain't got sense enough to get out or come right, then don't come at all. It's the way I look at it. And I mean, as far as people rioting in the streets and doing stuff and being against the cops, you know, I don't have a whole lot of pity for them. You know, you guys don't know a whole lot of my background, but I used to be on the other side of that fence. I was the one shooting at the cops and doing this, that, and the other. And you know, I got the sense beat into me a couple of times. But I look at it as, you know, we have all grown up. The things we've done in our past is in our past. And the fact is that we need to, some of these people are just young and dumb at this point, and they're just out there protesting to hear their head rattle, I think.
Good feedback. Good feedback. Lizelle, what you got?
Damn, he came with all the bullets in the gun, didn't he? Damn. Okay. Okay. Well, I will agree with Dwayne about the glass being half full, half empty. So I think that we, in terms of fuckery, I think we're about 50 to 70%, and only because, as we get deeper into this with the rockets and the missiles and the civil unrest, which, by the way, was never as bad as the media made it. Just so you know, there were pockets, but it was I think it was reverse publicity. In other words, you know, we always talk about how the media is unfairly slanting things. I think that they did that in favor of continuing to try to divide us. And most places that I know, only because I know people that were actually at these, and I'm sure, gentlemen, I hope that some of us knew some people that were at these protests. Not a violent bone in their body, at least not unless they're provoked. But I'm just saying that it just it was the narrative was a little skewed. But also, I think it's only because we challenge the mental acuity of this president that some of the things that he has done are in question, because history has shown that other presidents have done it. I think the problem is when you're told something over and over again that I'm going to be the president to end all wars, and the first thing you do is drop bombs. It's, you know, it's a double-sided comment. So, with that being said, I'm not trying to, you know, take all that time. I think we're about 60, 65%. I think by the end of this year, we'll truly see how messed up we are in our situation. But I think there's still an opportunity for us to I don't know, make lemons out of lemonade. Trying to find that way, but that's what I think.
Okay. So Lizelle, we appreciate your input and Dwayne's input as well. I want to commend you for being the smarter brother in the family, at least on the podcast that we know of anyway. I'm not sure what happened to Rich and where he took left turns, but
You meant right turns.
I'm a little. I think we're fucked, right? I do agree that it's early, and from what we've seen, the last 5 to 6 months has been total chaos, right? I don't know what is gonna make this administration get to a place where we see normalcy, or is this the normalcy, right? That's the other side of that too. But we've got to get on terms of a stable perspective, because everything is either far left or far right. And traditionally, we need leaders to play an even field, right? You have so many things going on, man. The economy is crazy. The stock market, you lose your shirt today. We got tariffs imposed. It stabilizes. I mean, we're just in a turbulent time, right? And I'm not sure as to when or how it's going to be stabilized. I'm not even going to speak on the president because I want to have a great evening, right? I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be mad. And I am trying to be optimistic that we're going to stabilize. You look at travel, you look at ICE, you look at the uncivil unrest. Man, we don't have a consistent day or week. They're all extremes. And I'm looking for, personally, it just needs to settle. We need something to settle. We need people to stand for what's right, and that's not a party affiliation, right? That is a morality perspective. And I think that's where we need to begin with morality. Party affiliation, it comes and goes. Everybody has perspectives. Everybody has opinions. But what we're putting and displaying to the rest of the world is who are we when we act this way, right? That's what's in question with me. So that's my take.
Gotcha. Huh?
To answer the question, I think if we're not there yet, I think we're on a path unless some dramatic actions are taken to kind of reverse the course. There's no secret that what we've been experiencing over the last, I'm not going to just say the last 5 to 6 months, but you got to go back to the previous administration of the current administration. I think there were a lot of envelopes that were pushed and some were rebuffed. And I think right, wrong, or indifferent, we're getting version 2.0 based upon the learnings of the first administration. And what we're getting is a plan that has been put into place that we're not just taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. We're taking 3 steps forward and a half a step back in the actions that are being taken. And part of that is not just actions being taken that are self-serving, because that is happening. But I think the continual proliferation of the divisiveness that we're seeing, that automatically pits one side against the other, whether it's political party, whether it's race, whether it's where you stand on immigration, where you stand on the economy. There's, to Ray's point, the middle ground has been totally blown up. There's no middle ground. You have to pick a side and be on either side, and even when your common sense and your, to quote Ray's word, morality tells you that you should be open to another thought, because of where you are on that side of a fence, you hold 10 toes down and you're not going to even entertain the conversation. And I think that's where we are. There are a lot of things that are being done right now.
You got a little breakup in the audio.
Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully that goes away. Probably drawing too much pull here.
Okay.
But I hope that we're getting to the point where we recognize, man, you know what's being said over there. Some of it makes sense, some of it I don't agree with. But let's see if we can find the middle ground. And I think that's what we're missing right now. We're being forced to take a side, and that's by design. That's by design of all the things that were put in place to divide the perspectives of the folks in the country. And that leads to another plan of how you break everyone down. And it's I win, you lose. And if I win, then I drive what I want to drive. And that's where we are. So to answer Ken's question, we're on the path of it. And as Brother Free said, if we're probably 65, 70% there, and if we don't start to take some stances where we're challenging and removing some of those 3 and 4 steps being taken forward, we're destined to get to the point of no return.
Great info. Great response. Great response. Ty?
I mean, well, honestly, I think you guys kind of hit it on the head. Um, I'm going to go, like you said, with the glass half full, only because I have a praying grandmother growing up. So God is in control. And so that's the philosophy I'm taking on this. But you hit it on the head. It's all chaos. It's extremes. It's, I just missed the day was back in the day when we didn't care who was in office. Once you won, it was about the people. So it wasn't about red and blue and left and right. Okay, now it's about being the president of the United States. And so, and if you put more qualified people in place, my confidence will be a little higher. But, to you look at the resumes of some of these folks in high places, that scares me. Just from the standpoint of, they're not qualified. You should have some kind of, qualifications to run some of these positions, and it's almost once they get in, they just go with the flow. And the first time, at least there were qualified people there, who could kind of guide them through. And now it's just about, hey, let me do my thing.
Gotcha. Understandable. All right. So in the vein of talking about or kind of presenting this as what do guys talk about, I think I'm gonna go with my question next, right? Because I'm not gonna have a serious question.
But did you ask? Did you answer whether we're fucked or not though?
I think like someone said, we'll know I think Lizelle said by the end of the year, we'll know one way or the other what's really what. Because at this point, a lot of things, that are the current administration is pushing, they either get pushed back on or they don't get pushed back on. I think it just depends. I think the end of the year we'll know for sure. It's been a long 5 months, though. Dwayne, I hate to say it, it's your guy. It's been a long 5 months, though. All right, it's been a long one. But I've got a something to loosen us up a little bit here, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I know y'all not gonna like me for this one, probably, because your wife cannot be the answer. That's one thing. All right, she cannot be the answer. Now the question is, I want each of you to tell us about the time that you stepped to the baddest chick you've ever seen in your life. Not the baddest chick you've ever seen, the baddest chick you've ever stepped to in your life. For example, here's mine. I was in Houston, Texas for internship. And my wife asked me about this yesterday. She gave me the side eye. I'm going to say it. I'm going to tell it anyway. I was in Houston, Texas. No, I was in Dallas, Texas for internship. And I went to a 20-year-old 20 club or whatever. And there was a girl named Keely at this club. And I thought she was the baddest chick I'd ever seen in my life to that point. I think I'm 20 years old because that had to be 91, summer of 91. So I was still 20. And I actually stepped to her and got the number and went out on a date with her. And then when I went back to work in my internship the next day, it was a couple of guys my age that worked there. And I was like, yeah, I met this chick. She was so bad. Her name is Keely. And they were like, we know her. Oh my gosh. No, but I clearly remember that. I clearly remember that to this day because I thought this was the baddest chick I'd ever seen. Now, here's the crazy thing. I went to see our frat brother Bad T sometime that summer, all the chicks in Houston became the baddest chicks I'd ever seen at that point. but I still remember Keely. I still remember her, man. So I want each of you to tell me the time that you saw what you thought was the baddest chick you had ever seen, and you took a shot.
Mm.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go.
Okay,
Ty's heard this story, so Ty, you kind of can chime in if you want. But so I always said there's a few 5 stars out there that no matter what, you probably should take your shot. If it leads to nothing more than a good drink and good conversation, you should take your shot. So I'm at a Super Bowl party in Phoenix, and I'm in a club, and I'm separated from the person that I was there with. Another one of our frat brothers, Rod Wilson. I'm looking for Rod. So I'm dipping through the crowd, and ESPN party, Super Bowl party, post Super Bowl party, a lot of big bodies in the room, football players, athletes, entertainers. So I'm kind of weaving through the crowd, trying not to be starstruck. And I'm looking for Rod, and I duck from behind this guy who had to be a defensive, offensive line, a big guy, and I'm face to face with Sierra.
You mean Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson.
This
Sierra,
is way
right?
before Russell Wilson. This is way before. She was still living in Atlanta when this happened.
Right.
So I dip, and I'm face to face. Now, in my mind, this encounter was always going to be, I'm going to put my best game on. I'm going to hit her with the crooked tooth smile. I'm going to see what's going on with the drink later on. It's going to be on, right? Man, I was so shook. All I could say was, oh, almost took you out. You good? Good. Went separate ways. And to this day, I still laugh because of like all that bravado I had built up in my head about if I ever run into Sierra. I had the opportunity, and all I could was like, oh, almost took you out. Now, if I'd have had the opportunity to see her coming towards me, I'd have built my bravado up. I'd have been good, but nah, that was it, man. So at that time, that was the most complete package I'd ever seen in my world. That I shot my shot, didn't work. Well, I didn't even shoot my shot. I dropped the ball. I fumbled the ball. That wasn't even shooting a shot. That was just a fumble. That was a straight fumble. That was a turnover.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. Now this is. I know this was going to be a good one. Lizelle. This is. Hey, look. Before you say anything, I know a lot of ladies men, right? This was the very first one. This is the very first one I ran into.
He said long time ago, Zell. Long time
ago. My door is open. My wife is in the other room. My door is open.
So you have the floor. You have the floor, Lizelle.
So, yeah. So, my story is like my man's story. I had just gotten to LA, and I was looking for work, and I was working as security on a movie set. And what that entails is you walk up to the set, and I go, nothing to see here. Move along. Just move along. But that's the job. And sometimes they would move me to a parking lot to watch the stars' cars park. And so on this particular day, I was inside the building. We were at UCLA shooting this movie. And the star of the movie was Halle Berry. And Halle Berry comes in, and we walk onto the elevator together, right? And the first thing is, I'm just glad I don't have my security jacket on. Like I hadn't gotten dressed for work. I was like in a black shirt, jeans, whatever. She's like, hey. And I was like, hey. I said, what floor are you going to? She said, I'm going to 3. I said, oh, I'm going to 2. And the elevator's going up, and she says to me, and we're the only 2 in the elevator. She says to me, "Hi, hi, my name is Hallie." And I said, "What? For real? Your name is Hallie?" No, that's what I said. And she laughed. She laughed. It was great. Door opens and she says goodbye. And I went, okay.
No
Door
follow
closed,
up.
and none. Did not see her again for years and didn't tell her that story neither. But I'm just saying is that was my shot. What? Because I was hoping that it would spur on, the laughter would spur on to the next thing, right? Because I don't even think I even said my name after what. So that's probably my best crash and burn, shoot your shot story.
She like little light skinned too.
Yeah, he doesn't them light skin. But she ended up with David Justice shortly thereafter, if I'm not
You had a
mistaken.
shot.
Hey,
I did.
now look, knowing the David Justice stories, you probably had a shot because
I probably had a shot.
he was a nut, man.
Probably had a shot.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna drop our other guest in, Dwayne. I know you got something, man.
I was gonna say based on his past, he must have some good stories.
I know.
I know. I grew up in Greenville at ECU, and I walked into a bar one night, and I don't even know this girl's name. She was a very pretty redhead. You know, a redhead is either really pretty or just ugly to me. This one was really pretty. But she asked me to buy her a drink, and I bought her a shot of tequila. And my brother was with me. He still tells the story. I was about 21. And I bought her a shot of tequila, and she took and put salt on this side of my neck, put the lime in my mouth, took the shot, licked my neck, took the shot, and French kissed me and got that lime. And I don't know her from Adam's house. Cat still don't know her. It's definitely a burn. You want another one? That's all I had to say.
All right. Marquis, keep them coming.
Yeah. Coming.
But I it didn't go nowhere. I don't know what happened. Really, we got drunk and I never went home with
her. Are you sure you never went home with her, Dwayne?
I'm pretty positive. My brother says I didn't.
Do you remember?
I don't. No,
oh man,
my teenage years are real fuzzy.
Oh man,
We've been there.
Quake.
Oh man. I think it was summer '96. I think in fact, I think it was the same trip when we were in Chicago. Hunt met his wife. We visited Ken for the taste. And man, we were everywhere.
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
I'm not sure. I know Hunt will remember. I don't know if Kenny will remember, but we did several party spots, right? And I ran into this chick named Irma Lopez.
Irma.
And so we're talking. We had a couple of drinks, and she was telling me she was from Miami, and I told her I was from North Carolina. So we kicked it for a little bit, and she gave me a number. And at the end of the night, she asked me if I knew who Jairus McPhail was. I'm like, yeah, I'm familiar with this dude. I said, yeah, we played ball against each other in high school. She's like, yeah. Well, he's a friend of mine. So it kind of went south at that point, right? I swear to you, this was the baddest chick ever. a
She
good
was a specimen.
5 foot Latina, beautiful, great conversationalist. And I think I called her a couple of times, but never went anywhere. But she is without a doubt the baddest chick that I walked up on.
Or what was this guy's name again?
Jairus McPhail.
Yes,
Jairus,
Yeah.
matter of fact, he went to ECU.
Why did that deter you? I'm surprised that deterred you.
Well, it didn't
Drake was a
deter
baller.
me, but the context when she brought his name into the conversation
Uh,
was like, yeah, he bagged this already.
oh,
So it wasn't, I was not intimidated by the name, but
right.
when you in town and you only for 3 or 4 days, it's either all good or all nothing. You don't have anything to lose. So you put it all out. I put it all out.
Right.
Shoot your shot. Shoot your shot.
Like, all right, well,
Shoot your shot.
yeah, you might be a good call in Miami, but it ain't happening this week.
Right. Hey, memory.
Yeah.
Irma Lopez. Wow.
Irma.
I don't even remember. I don't remember this quake.
Damn if I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Damn if I don't. That was a fun
she-
crew.
she
That was
was
a very
incredible.
fun crew.
Man. Kid,
All right.
what you working with?
All right. So I'm in Charlotte, right? And it's after work. It's like, so I head back to my hotel, get all G'd up, and okay, let's go have a good time, right? So I'm Hup, you used the word bravado. So I got full swag on, right? I'm on the elevator. I come down from the top floor, so I'm feeling all good. I'm feeling like I'm the fucking man, right? Elevator get to the bottom floor, opens, and I go, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. Just like it's standing there, and I'm basically drooling. And she look at me and kind of snickle and get on the elevator, and I'm like, and then I finally pull myself together and take a few steps off, and I'm looking, I'm checking it out, turn around, it's fucking Michael Jordan standing in front of me. And
Wow.
it's his the woman he ended up marrying, Yvette Printo or whatever, that model.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I look at him, look at her, he's laughing at me, and I'm like, it figures. Makes sense.
It made sense then. Huh?
It made sense
I should
then, right?
expect that from him.
Exactly, right? So
Buddy talks.
it was no use of shooting the shot. Once I turned around and his ass was there, I was like, it's over. So,
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's funny.
but
The last but not least, Mr. Tyrod Bond.
Oh Lord.
No,
He
no,
cried to start with.
I'm gonna keep it real basic. One of my first jobs, one of my first jobs out of college. I dealt with selling to salons and things like that. So, in one of my shops, the nail tech, she had her own little space and it was probably one of the. And so she was at the front. So every time you came in, first thing you saw. Every time you left, last thing you saw. So of course, I'm in the shop. Supposed to be once a week, but it became twice a week. And so I'm coming through, just every week, just trying to give the nerve. So the one of them looks, and you can tell by, because again, that day you put, as Ken said, your best garb on, trying to go in and just, it was special that day. Every time I went in there. So she just kept looking up, but I never just got up the nerve to because every time I saw her, it was like, this is crazy. And so after quite a few weeks, I finally started having a little bit of conversation here and there. But my business was with the cosmetologist, not with the nail techs. So I'll never forget. So I'm over. We finally having a conversation here and there with and so I was walking out, and she said, "So first of all, I can't give the name, but the lady who owned the shop was like, you keep walking past her like that, but
He done
you
peeked
know,
you out.
we're the one that's buying, so you might want to give us your attention,
Oh,
because she ain't nothing you selling in that bag that she need. So anyway, to make a long story short, I remember one night just leaving out, and she said, the nail tech finally said, "Look, you walk out here one more time without asking my number, don't come back in here." And so,
He done peeked you out.
but she was older, and the biggest thing at that time, I'm 24, 25, and she had to be, I was I'm sorry, in the 30s, and so at that time, it's older, but it was it was almost like the end of car wash, you know. all you all you needed was the butter to fall off the ceiling.
Now, Ty,
Classic.
Oh my God, that's
did,
classic.
did things pan out?
Those who know don't tell.
And those who
Those who tell don't know.
don't get in trouble.
See,
I know.
I told you,
Wow.
last but not least, Mr. Tyrod Bob. All right, perfect. So Dwayne, why don't you chime in? Let's see what's your question for the panelists, Dwayne?
Well, with all of them saying that the glass was half empty there a while ago, I would like to ask the question, what do y'all think about this guy that just got elected in New York?
Oh, now did he get elected or that was the primary, right?
That's the primary.
Right?
He got the primary, but with
Right.
the crap that's been rolling out of his mouth, I would just like to see somebody else's perspective on. Even Bernie Sanders said that the Democrat Party looked like it was on the Titanic. So
Could be true.
I just figured out to ask. I mean, I don't understand how anybody of our age could have that kind of perspective,
Okay.
whether you're white or black.
So who wants to chime in first?
I'll go P.
I figured it would. I figured Kid and Hunt would definitely want to.
Well, only because my review of it is more situational than it is about the views, Dwayne. So I hear what you're saying. To me, there's a plus and a minus of the whole Zoran thing, right? Let me take the minus first, right? The minus is he's got some views, even that those of us on the left see as kind of far out there, right? And he's quite frankly bombastic about it and just kind of pushing hard and I that just I guess it's going to land in New York. It's not going to land much outside of a place like that. Maybe some areas it might, but on a broad scale it won't. But on the plus side, in the era of Trump, we gotta have some fucking fire, somebody spitting shit to offset all the shit that comes from MAGA, right? And so I think there's some lessons that we can learn on the left from what's happening in New York. I don't know if it's again necessarily his points of views on things, but his approach to it. There's something about it that's intriguing.
Okay. Okay. Right. Anybody else got any? I haven't really paid much. I saw that he won the primary. I haven't paid much attention to it, but who else wants to chime in? We can make this a little more conversational at this point.
Well, no, I'm
Well,
not educated enough on
yeah,
it.
that's what I was going to say. The same
That's
thing. Go
where
ahead,
I
man.
stand as
But
well.
I will say that with that being said, it's amazing how and you're my man over there, but for you to have that response to him should give you a little perspective to how the other side feels when they hear a lot of craziness and removing history and things like that. So I'm just saying, it just it's just kind of wild to hear. Because again, I don't know enough about him, but I get what you're saying. I'm definitely going to look into it. But for that to be your response to him should probably give you a little bit of empathy into or a look into how we feel when we hear the craziness from the other side too. But again, I don't know enough to get into it.
I think there's more to come out of it. I definitely believe that it is a product of the environment that we're currently in around the shock factor of candidates. And I believe that, as it just, to me, it just highlights when people blindly vote one way or the other, even though this was a Democratic primary, all because of all the stuff associated with Cuomo. He had fallen out of favor. So, this guy, and I promise you, like if you did a poll similar to some buyer's remorse that quite a few folks who voted in the last presidential election, I promise you would have a high majority of folks saying, I didn't know this guy was about this. I didn't know this. I didn't know he was saying all this. I wouldn't vote for him if I knew all that. So I think it will play itself out. But to Ken's point, I think it is just a product of the environment, the political environment that we are in, where extreme rhetoric and extreme stances are what draws attention and what takes people who are, call it what you want to, but if it aligns with their agenda, they're going to fall in line with it. So again, I think there's a lot more to come out of all of this. I think now that he's taken such an extreme stance on some of the things that he has said, he's going to get the questions. He's going to get asked a lot more, and for him, that's going to be a bonanza because it's going to give him more publicity. But depending on how he handles his next however months before the election, will dictate whether he's around or whether he fades off into the sunset.
Yeah, I personally haven't paid that much attention to it, but I will say this though: I think the Democratic Party is a little different than the Republican Party, and in that if a candidate goes too far left, I think they lose more support than Republicans when they go too far right. So, New York is definitely different than most places in this country. So I don't, like Ken said, I don't know if that will fly outside of New York City, maybe Los Angeles, but that's a great question and a great perspective as to how both of these, quote unquote sides kind of handle those two things. Like I've heard a lot of people say, I don't like Trump, but I like some of his policies. I used to hear that a lot. But I don't know if the quote unquote left will really, if that will work out for them. I think they need some more, but closer to the center to have something effective nationally. So, but great question, Dwayne. Great question.
Hey,
Anybody else have any?
Thing?
Sure.
Because I think, Dwayne, again, I appreciate your question, but I think the commonality of the Trump and what he has done to the Republican Party and what happened here in New York this time is, Hunt mentioned Cuomo was on the ballot. Also, what's the current mayor who's crooked?
Right. Yeah.
Derek
Zohar
Adams?
Adams, right? So
Adams.
Zoran ran against a bunch of other bad candidates, right? They were bad. The big names were bad, right? Cuomo couldn't get elected anywhere else. In fact, he got run out as governor. He come and run a city, and because that was his kind of last hope, and he lost that. And Adams is a crook, and all the other names. Zoran was probably just the
kind of only option, right?
The better,
exactly.
The better of the bad candidates.
The better of the bad candidates, right? I was going to say the tallest midget, but Tyler. And so it was. So I think that was it. Just like when Trump emerged back in 2015, 2016, like all the other people there, nobody cared for Jeb Bush. Nobody cared for all these other folks. And then before you know it, there was a rally thing. So I think both. We actually got an issue in our politics on both sides that good people aren't even stepping up because it's so much shit associated with it that we're ending up with bad candidate after bad candidate after bad candidate.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, I don't per se, but I figured when Humphrey said there a while ago, talking about it's just so much crap on each side. It seems like to me that they're trying to outdo each other. And that's the thing. That's why I ask for people of our age in our 50s, that we come through life, yeah, I voted for Trump, and no, I don't agree with everything he does. But the thing is it seems like everybody's it's like schoolyard ball. Everybody's trying to one up somebody. He ran through the street naked. I'm going to do something else. I'm got to do something. I got to get on the news. I got to figure it out. Just like you were talking about, it's all divisive. And it's always trying to one up somebody other than trying to run something.
Yep. I agree. All right. So we've knocked down what three of our six. Lizelle.
What
do you got for the panelists, man?
Okay, so it's interesting that we were talking about when this conversation started, we were talking about the draft, and it made me think about the NFL draft. Not that this draft isn't interesting, but it made me think about the NFL draft. And I want to be fair, I believe your panel talked about Shedeur Sanders. I think there was a little bit of discussion there. But what I wanted to say was that I don't believe that his father should have ever left Jackson State. I think he should still be the coach of Jackson State. I think that his record did not fit him going to Colorado, because anytime he had to play a big game, he lost. They don't have bowls at that level. However, more importantly, the man said that the athletes were the most important thing to him, that raising young men were the most important thing to him. And then literally 6 months later, he's at Colorado. Now, let's just put it like this. When he recruited Travis Hunter, it was arguably the biggest signing in HBCU history, right? Bottom line, without a doubt, right? Which meant that there could have been a fundamental shift in the way that these athletes began to look at these schools if Deion had stayed at Jackson State. Because let me just say this, I don't know if you're reading the news, but St. Aug can't even get a program. Was it St. Aug 2 days ago had to shut it down?
Right.
They can't get a program. Now, I don't want to get into the whole NIL thing, because my belief is if you're going to pay one, pay them all. Not just the big people, pay them all. If it's going to be professional, the guy that sits at the end of the bench that's got to go to practice and lift weights and run laps and do everything else and push-ups and whatnot, he doing the same thing that the guys that are the stars. Granted, maybe not on game day, but they're still there. Pay them all. Give them all something, because there's plenty of money. But I go back to Deion. As a ambassador of the game, there is nobody that has replaced him on that level. Where's Eddie George? We ain't seen him, right? Maybe it'll be Michael Vick, right? That's my point, right? Who do we have there, right? If we were talking about changing the narrative, all Deion did was go to the plantation when he went from the field to the house,
Ooh.
From the field to the house.
Wow.
And now Massa got him exactly where he's supposed to be, in the house, because now he's competing on the same level as all the other masters.
Wow.
Let's go.
Wow.
Okay.
All
right.
right. Smoke Lizelle. I see you.
You ruffle some
We
feathers.
circled the wagon on this, right?
Let's just bring the heat, gentlemen. I was waiting on this.
I love it.
I had it. I was like, I'm watching these brothers. I love what they're doing. Let's talk.
So the take on Deion, right? Go ahead, Ken. You want to go? So I'll get my perspective on Deion. Deion is an opportunist, man. Don't lose that in the minutia of football. He's a salesman. He's like a snake oil salesman, dude. Deion has a magnetic charisma with the media and knows how to manipulate them to benefit himself personally. Now, in the midst of that, he compromised Jackson State, and he's compromising Colorado, and he's added to the careers of Travis Hunter and his sons, and it's unknown how many other people that will fall in this cloud of smoke. But at the end of the day, Deion is smart. He's a capitalist. That's what he is. I don't know how good of a football coach Deion Sanders really is.
Not
right?
Right.
But he's a capitalist. He knows how to maximize opportunity to get what he needs, whether it's football wins, whether it's Heisman trophies, whether it's sons being drafted, etc.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
And he benefited greatly.
Yeah.
His salary.
Weren't you one of the guys that thought that Shedeur was more talented in the 5th round? And I submit that if he ain't playing for his daddy, he might not get drafted. Because if you look at his stats, Travis Hunter does a whole lot of a receiver like Travis does a whole lot of saving grace, if you know what I'm saying. But if you look at his stats, most of his yardage came after the blowouts because his daddy left him in the game. A lot of their yards after the catch, brother.
You can't spite a guy. You can't spite a guy for having good receivers. You can't spite a guy for having good receivers.
Right. I can't knock him for that.
I'm with Lizelle on this.
But I mean, because Shedeur looks like he's struggling right now. So what I'm saying is that this I see about the opportunity. Listen, there's rumors that Shedeur may not make it out of training camp, which I think is stupid.
Can I say it like this, right? This, right? Because I like to I kind of agree. I'm agreeing a lot with Lizelle on this, right? In that, and Quake for that matter, because I suggest to you that the universe balanced itself out, right? Because if Shedeur didn't play for Deion, would he have even been a 5th round pick? Yes. Trap, you think he would have?
He would have.
He would have
been higher than 5th round pick.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Okay. I'm not so sure of that. I'm not
but
so sure.
But do you think he's a system quarterback or an athletic quarterback? Is he Mahomes or is he Brock Purdy?
So
he's not Brock Purdy.
Let me finish my thesis, right? Because
go ahead.
Because I'm kind of agreeing both with Ray and Lizelle here. I think, and Travis Hunter would have been the number top. He was a generational talent. He would have been the top 3 or 4 or 5 pick, no matter where he played. Right. So he's probably got NIL benefits, but his draft position, his name recognition, for the most part, kind of benefited some from Deion. But through it all, the only real person I suggest who benefited from, as Hump said at one time, Prime being Prime, was Prime. Right? Was Prime. Right? I'm not so sure any other player who played who even trained all the players who left Jackson State to go with him to Colorado. I don't know how many of them even got drafted, right? I at the end of the day, and I think Shedeur, and there was some like we like to talk about it, how dirty Shedeur was done. Arguably, he should have been in the first round. Some people think, right? Most people who were fair quarterback folks said if he'd have been in the draft before, he would have been still behind Cam Ward, and Cam Ward would be behind most of those quarterbacks that were drafted last year. So he probably at best was a third, fourth, fifth round quarterback. So I'm not so sure he actually got done all that dirty. And if he did, it's because all the prime bullshit caught up to both of them, right? And so I don't weep for them, because you can't have it both ways. You can't have it that prime does all the shit, get everything, does all these kind of things, and then one day it catches up to him, and now there's crime all over the place. I don't buy that shit at all.
I'll chime in a little bit on this. One, the point of Prime being a good coach or not, he's not a good coach. His X's and O's. Now he knows positions. He definitely knows corner. He can definitely help coach up a receiver because he played against them. But if he's ever going to be considered a better than average coach, he's going to have to be surrounded by a lot of positional coach and coordinators that are help driving the team, and he's the motivator. He's the man up front helping to guide the program. Now, the blueprint that Prime put in place is nothing different than him at Florida High School, him at Florida State, him with the Niners, him with Atlanta, him with the Cowboys. I mean, he's Prime being Prime. He is an entity that people pay attention to Ken's point. He knows how to draw into camera. He knows how to say the right thing. He knows how to be provocative. And along with that, everyone started giving him a level of respect that he really didn't earn, right? In terms of the coaching side and to the program side. Now, in terms of what he brought to Jackson State was a powerhouse in the SWAC before he got there. Right, he put some more seats in the crowd because he built some seats down the bottom and had some recliners. But they pack out that stadium every damn week. They play at home, so he didn't. He got some money in, he got some facilities, right. Gave up some of his check, so I can't say that he didn't do anything for Jackson State. Now, him leaving and going to Colorado, I was in the middle of the road on both those, right? Because I say, all right, who are we to say if you have an opportunity to grow and solidify even more for your family and generational wealth, you got to take it. Who's to say he wasn't going to get that at Jackson State? But Lizelle, you can't, in my opinion, you cannot ignore the impact of NIL in this conversation. Because I dare say if he stays at Jackson State and the way that the NIL has evolved over the last couple of years since he left, I don't believe that they will still be able to draw the talent on his name alone that he was able to draw when he first got there, right?
But Mr. Hump, I submit to you that if he stays, he continues to accrue power and more players, more coaches come to that division. There's more eyeballs. When's the last time you've seen an HBCU game at this point? When you heard anybody talk about it, unless they talk about closing it down.
I can't disagree with you on that, but
no, I want you to. I
can't disagree on that point. But what I will ask you to think about is, would Jackson State draw that type of NIL money?
Right. You know they won't. But again, I think we're also talking about the man that said, my goal is to raise these young men and to hold them accountable. Now we know, and he said, that's why I came to Jackson State. He said, I need the money. You don't remember that? I don't need the money. I mean, is Deion missing any meals? Does he not already sort of had generational wealth? He's been making money forever.
Have we heard any stories? And I'm not defending the dude because I don't get two shakes of his ass one way or the other. But have we heard any stories where that has not been the case? Where he has been derogatory to someone's career that he brought there, or someone who transferred to Colorado, that was outside. And here's the caveat, right? That is outside of how any other program is run.
I think that's a great question. I'm going to say that I do not know that from a personal standpoint, but what we do know is if you didn't hear about Travis Hunter, and if you didn't hear about Shedeur, and what was the other receiver's name? Horn?
Jimmy Horn Jr.
Right, Horn.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't hear about those three. You didn't hear about anybody else and where they were going to go in the NFL. And to me, that, as somebody said earlier, is extremely self-serving and disappointing to me. That's why I still don't believe that he, and I think I don't know if we're all in agreement that maybe he shouldn't be the coach of Colorado because he getting ready to get his head beat in this year. He getting ready to get his head busted for white meat. Facts. Sorry,
So we'll see, but I think that even though he said that, does that mean he has to stay there forever?
Well, I mean, he didn't have to stay.
I don't know any coach who stay. He don't have to, I mean, honestly,
he had to stay there forever.
But
he had said, I'm not saying stay there forever. That would have been dumb. But what I'm saying is 2 years was not enough to do it. He gets one generational talent and his son, and that's all he's got. And again, the games that he really needed to win, he couldn't win. He couldn't win the doggone, what is it, the Freedom Bowl? Used to be the Freedom Bowl. What's it called now?
Hold on. It's the Celebration Bowl. Come on now, get it right now.
But it used to be, the Celebration Bowl. But
Hey,
he never did no celebrating.
Lizelle with the Carolina, you know he don't know about those Celebration Bowls.
Oh, there you
That's
go.
right.
Well, yeah, I'm glad he didn't win it, just for that, just because of the way. But
so I did look.
I would say he left them in better shape than he brought them, and for that I can't get upset. And did they win this year? Did they win?
I don't know. I don't know how well they did. They didn't do as well as they did when he was there.
No,
this year, right?
they didn't do as well.
It was FAMU. It was one of the other teams. It wasn't that's the same.
Yeah, they didn't do as well. Yeah.
Deion's got some positives, right? These guys are graduating school. The graduation rate went up. GPAs at Colorado's up, and the graduation rate is up. So it's not all bad, right? To Hump's point,
who's graduating? His son is on social media talking about, I'm not going to class next week. I'm going to the league on social media.
But they all don't go to class now.
You got to look at the way the system
is set. Then how they
get
getting this
virtual
paper?
Classes? He don't have to be physical at a class.
Online, right? Yeah, even Travis. All of them.
Shedeur said he was done with books. He done. Shedeur said he was done.
Just a quick fact check. South Carolina
That's what everybody does.
South Carolina State did beat. Jackson State did beat South Carolina State in the Celebration Bowl in 2020.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, they won it, so he left them in a better place. They won it, so
they were 11-2, and they were 11-2.
And you can't think about that. You can't.
So he gets
facilities.
He get credit for that.
He gets credit for setting them up.
What is that? What is that adage about teaching a man to fish? What is it? You're a fisherman, Paul. What is that?
Look, man. Give him a fish, they'll eat for a day.
Look.
I'm
chomping at the bit to chime in on this because
you were the first person I heard say he was coaching. You thought he was coaching because he wanted to make his son better. You were the first person I heard say that.
Look, it's not just to make his son better. Shedeur was going to, I think it was Florida International before he went to Jackson State.
Mm-hmm.
He was not even going to be the first option there. And this was a long-term plan because Deion had to get his master's to actually be the head coach, right?
Right.
His plan was never to develop young men at HBCUs. That was an avenue for him to get Shedeur playing time. That's what it was. Because Shedeur's he's not a prototype quarterback. And Deion knows what they were going to do with him when they got their hands on him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason I mean, if you say, hey, should he be there? If it was about that, yes. But it was never about that. And then he got a chance to do something I don't think he ever thought he could do. A Power 5 then at that point school came knocking.
Right.
And something else you got to think about. Deion's not an HBCU guy, right? He's a Florida State, all facilities are great, big time guy.
He ain't swag. He ain't swag.
He's not. He ain't swag. He ain't swag. Listen, this is true. Have any of you been to Jackson State before?
Yeah.
No.
You've been to that university.
I drove past it. Never been in it.
I went to Jackson, Mississippi before Deion was the coach because I'm looking at facilities, see what they're like for my son, right? Their facilities look like a bad high school. Like the practice field was just a grass field with some rusty equipment on it. That is not where Deion was going to stay. He wasn't there. It would have taken him 20, 30 years to get to A&T level probably at Jackson State facility.
Not to get new grass and new facilities and equipment. He did that already.
No. I'm talking about just to get them to where he wants to be. Deion was complaining about the crime in Jackson State. He was like, my kids aren't safe. He wasn't going to stay, right? What he did for them was, I think, that's all you can expect out of him. It's Neon Deion. It's Neon Deion. He's going to want to be under the brightest lights he can find, and that's the idea. So should he be there? Probably yes. Am I surprised he's not? No. Now, on Shedeur, I want to chime in on Shedeur, right? Shedeur is not a bad quarterback. If you want to say, well, Travis Hunter he saved him. Well, what about these guys that got all these outstanding receivers on their squads at these Big Ten and SEC schools? Do we knock them down for having outstanding wide receivers?
They never get propped up. They never get propped up that much.
They don't. But here's the thing: when it comes to college football, what I've asked, and maybe Humps asked Dwight about this, the difference that you see is on the line.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
The difference is on the line. Right? And Colorado never had a great line, right? Suspect all the time, right?
And it shows.
But Shedeur made something out of nothing as much as he could. Now you could say, well, he had Travis Hunter. Okay, he had Travis Hunter, Jimmy Horn Jr. You can't tell me there aren't other receivers that are outstanding out there, right? So I think he should have been higher than a 5th round pick. If he wasn't Deion's son, he probably would have been at least a 2nd round pick, is what it sounds like, right? And he's outplaying Dylan Gabriel in camp at this point. So say what you want. Say what you want. I think they did it dirty in the draft.
No.
I heard just the opposite, that he's not outplaying Dylan Gabriel. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What? Well, you can't. Okay, you can't separate.
Before this quick, if you say he's outplaying, how many times have you seen a 5th round pick get this much consideration when supposedly the team didn't even want him, but they're still giving him top level opportunity? That doesn't happen.
We're just talking about
that's you talking about what you're hearing in the media, because I'm hearing a whole lot of different stuff.
It's just 3 days of OTAs. Can we just let this play out a little bit first, though? Right? Like, it's way too early.
Getting reps.
All I'm saying is you can't separate the fact that he's gotten even the opportunities he had from the fact that Deion is his father. Right? Yes. Now, if you want to say that he is developed into a guy who has the skill set of a 2nd or 3rd round quarterback, I respect that opinion, right? But you started this by saying, coming out of high school, he was a Florida International type prospect. Right.
Well, and that is where he got his opportunity. I'm not saying I don't know what he was at that point, but that's where his opportunity was.
That's probably, and you also said he's not prototypical in a whole lot of things, right? Mm-hmm. Because Deion was his father, and basically set the table at Jackson State, set the table at Colorado, is giving him every opportunity and more to get boosted up as high as he has, to the fact that he was in the conversation for being a top 5 type pick, right? That's basically what you're saying, right? and if because I agree 100% with everything you said there, right? But if you extend him grace for all that Deion has did to lift him up, you then also have to respect those people who say, I ain't signing up for the fucking Deion experience with Shedeur. And that's why maybe I'll give you 3rd, 4th round, right? But you're talking about someone who didn't have to beat out other quarterbacks once he got on campus for these schools. He did.
Most don't. Most times you go
Wait.
there, they know who their number one is. Unless somebody
But-
does something special. Most times.
No.
Competition.
Michigan
You hear about
is paying
competition. When you hear about competition of quarterbacks at a D1 school, it's because they all suck. If you got somebody who's standing out, they walk on the campus, it's their job to lose.
Especially
on day
now.
one.
Michigan paying Underwood $8 million. He is the starter. Unless something special happens, he's walking on Michigan's campus this year as the starter because he's getting paid. Period. There's no competition unless so somebody had to do something special.
True.
To be, and that's most times.
Once they
no matter
paid
where
him,
you go.
Manning had to sit behind Quinn fucking Ewers.
No, Manning
sure did.
Manning chose to because he got paid anyway, and they told him going in that he wasn't going to be the starter. Believe me, that deal was laid out, and he could afford to sit. He wasn't these guys coming in, well, I need the money, I can't afford. No, he could afford to sit. That's a special case.
My question is, though,
he is an exception to the rule.
Why do we put so much scrutiny on this because he's Deion's son? We wouldn't put this much scrutiny on if he was somebody else's son.
I agree with you, Hump, which is why I don't understand why we get so animated by the fact that he fell to the fifth round. Because I'm just saying you can't keep having it both ways. That he gets propped up, you prime, you propped up, but then you like when it goes the other way, now it's crime.
But Ken, you're saying he got propped up. He performed on the field.
Yes,
he performed on the field. He doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how he got.
A lot of that yardage was when the game was over, Paul.
He went to a team that was
on the field.
He went to a team that won one game. One game, and he had no line. No line. That is impossible to do if you're a quarterback. I don't care who you are. Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a line. He's getting sacked. You saw the Super Bowl,
He was running
right?
for his life in those games.
He got sacked. He ran for his life, and he got sacked. What are you saying?
But you cannot dispute that he performed on the field. That's what he did.
And you cannot dispute that he's been propped up through the whole process. If I'm a skeptic, hold on,
but does that matter?
No, it does. It does to some.
Why doesn't it matter?
Let me give you an example. They say last year's draft class is so much better than this year's draft class. The quarterbacks, they're light years better, and I say they are not. They are not. That's what I say. Be personal.
I think they are.
I don't think so. I don't think
You
so.
lost your credibility on this one.
I think they are.
Yeah, but I think you can you mute yourself? Because that,
I don't think so.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
They're not like years better than the two in this class. Put it like that. They're not like years better. They're not like years better than Cam Ward and Shedeur. They're not like years better.
We didn't use no light years. We just said
no.
You didn't think they were better.
No.
I say they were not better.
That's what the analysts say. They say they are. This class is so much hard. They would be third round picks if they were last year. I'm telling you, these two guys at the top of this draft are not what they say they are. They're not horrible players. They're not second or third round picks in last year's draft. Only because the decision makers are on that same old of this guy's prototypical, so we're going to make him a first round pick. Daniel Jones, right? Mitch Trubisky.
They got these
that shit happens every year.
But wait, hold on, wait. That's less Daniel Jones's fault and more the GM's fault. That was awful. That was awful. You can't. That's an awful example. That's an awful example.
That's a great example. That's a great example. He should have turned down the money.
How so?
He should have turned down the money.
But P wrecked his own argument because you were comparing them to the 2024 class, but then you went down Daniel Jones. Is he better than? Is Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders better than Michael Penix?
I would say.
Watch yourself.
This is what I'm saying. I'm not going to say that Michael Penix is light years ahead of them. Right, I'm not going to say that.
You're the only one using light years.
No, I'm not. I might be the only one. I might be the only one on this podcast. I might be the only one on this podcast. But
that's all we worried about. That's all we worried about. Is who's on the podcast. That's all we worried about. Is who's on the podcast. I don't care about nobody else. Who's on the podcast? Who's on the podcast?
Hold on 1 second.
He wasn't at the beginning. Yeah, go
Get
ahead.
him, man. Get him, because he waffling. He
Gotta ask the
waffling.
question that normally Paul asks his question once a podcast. Hey, what would he say right now, Quake?
You mad, huh? You mad, huh?
I'm
You
mad. You
mad,
damn
huh?
right. You damn right. I am, because y'all that bullshit, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, man. Come on, man. You gotta miss me with that, man. You something wrong. Okay, we laughing, but now you
look. I'm probably gonna cut some of that because I probably said something I don't want to get back up. But anyway, I'm telling you,
that was fine.
But Deion definitely should not still be there. He definitely should not still be there at all.
No.
Can
we gonna agree to disagree?
Let's move on.
The last thing I'll say is, and because we had this in our chat at the time, right? Real time. Some of us had a problem with, as Lizelle has said, not so much even that he left, that is the word he used. He made it and said it was about the kids, which we kind of felt like it never was. It was always Prime being Prime. And that feels like some bullshit.
And let me say this last thing, P, is that it reminded me of a coach who I will continue to hate forever, when Nick Saban did that same thing with the Dolphins. And that's what made me think of it. And I wanted better for Deion than I did for Nick Saban.
Well, it was the Dolphins, man.
I'd have respected that comment more if you said LSU.
Well, either way. Listen, I did that for Richie. Richie's not here. He's a Dolphins fan. I just had to give him some love.
Right, for sure. All right, well, look, fellas, I think we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on past our questions because we're going to run a little bit long. But I've got our last segment. It's our this or that, random-ish this or that. So I'm going to give you guys a series of images, and I want you to give your response. And you can tell why you give that response or not, either or. But these are going to be a little bit interesting. Some are going to be risque, some maybe not so much. We'll see. So our first this or that. I'm gonna go with a basic one here. We'll go with a basic one. Jordan or LeBron?
Man,
Jordan or LeBron?
That's not even a question.
Okay, go ahead, Quake. You chime in first.
Look, man. Everybody wants LeBron to be the GOAT, right? LeBron's a very good basketball player, but he is not the GOAT. The GOAT, if anybody's ever seen basketball, know anything about it, that 84 through 87, 88 Jordan, and the evolution of going from a one-on-one concept to team concept to evolution and 6 championships. It's not close, man.
It's not, because the GOAT is Magic Johnson. And I'm gonna say that in the vein of everybody.
We're leaving all Detroit people out of it. All Michigan people out of this.
Everybody on here is from North Carolina. Many of them went to Carolina. Why would you even ask this question? Why are we wasting our time with this question?
I heard somebody say that they're not sure. So Quake, you're Jordan. Dwayne, what about you? You Jordan or you LeBron?
I would say Jordan, just because Jordan, just because I watched basketball back then. I don't watch a lot of basketball, to be truthful. So.
I should probably ask you McGrath or Carmichael, right?
Yeah, you'd be better off there. Yes, sir.
All right. What you got, LeBron or Jordan?
So it's interesting. I was listening, and I got to give a little dialogue on this one. But so one of the sports talk shows that I listen to here locally said at the end of every NBA season, this debate comes up. So it's summertime, so everybody's going to go into this LeBron versus Jordan thing, and it's generational, man. I mean, we grew up watching Jordan play. We grew up watching the things he did on a night-to-night basis, not just the highlight films. We saw the championship runs. A lot of us saw him play outside of the NBA, where it was just he do way more crazy shit than we ever saw on the court in the game. So when you start talking about the championships, you start talking about the impact on the game. You saw Larry and Magic change the game. You saw them turning over to MJ. He changed the game and made it way more international. When you look at LeBron and his impact on the NBA today, what can you say? It ain't Steph Curry changing the 3-point shooting. It ain't. He was a freak of nature. He's a generational player, but what you gonna remember? Not one, not two, not three. That's what you know him for. Longevity. He played for 23 years. Yeah. Okay. So that's the biggest thing I can give him. But the greatest of all time is Michael Jordan, hands down.
All right. Ty, what's your input?
I said Magic Johnson.
He ain't on the screen.
He's not on the slide now.
It's one of the two.
Oh, then it's Jordan, without a doubt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kid Jordan.
LeBron.
What? Okay.
You knew Kid was going to do that. You knew.
And why is that, Kid?
Because I think when you add it all up, the longevity matters. I mean, he's number one in points scored. He's number one. He's top in assists, right? He is transcended. He's 20 plus years into the league, and still a top 10 player. Say it again. 4 and 6 in the final with the 9 straight finals. Right. Let's not ignore that. He was
not as clutch or dominant when it counts.
So what about this team hopping?
So would you start your team with LeBron over Jordan?
Hell no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, I would. Because he's a much more well-rounded player. He just was. You asked me if it's
how many
defensive
players of the year, first team defense LeBron been on?
Defensive player of the year, Quake, is a popularity award. It ain't even based on anything.
Really?
So in '88, you think LeBron's a better defender?
LeBron, generally speaking, has been a solid defender. Jordan was a better on the ball one-on-one defender. Yes, but don't throw up defensive, being on the all defense team and that type of shit, because that's a popularity award. Sports writers don't even know what makes a good defender.
Popularity from '84.
Yes.
Popularity from 2000.
Defensive, being on the all defense team has always been a popularity award. Is it guys don't even know, can't even tell me what good defense is.
So statistically,
it ain't Rudy Gobert.
Nah,
sure it is. You don't like Rudy. Rudy has been.
It would have been Bam Adebayo if I were voting. I'm gonna give you that one.
Rudy
can
Gobert.
Can I give you the point on LeBron that he's probably more well-rounded than Jordan was, because he technically could play all 5 positions, so could Magic. So he wasn't even the first to do that, but he definitely sees the court better. And the longevity, but I cannot, when it's crunch time, when you start looking at where he won, how he won his chips versus how MJ won his chips, that's where a lot of people land in the comparison. You start looking at other intangibles, you can go back and forth, but when it comes down, most people are going to land on 6-0 in the finals versus 4-6. Went to 9 straight, He had a lot of help when he got there. And then you'll hear people say, well, Jordan had Pippen. He didn't win one without Pippen. Pippen was a piece of shit when he got to Chicago.
Don't forget
when he got to Chicago. But would Jordan, do you think Jordan would have won the 94 and the 95 with the team he was on at the time?
Yes.
If they wouldn't have won, they damn sure would have been in the finals.
They would have been in the finals.
The 96, the 95, 96 team. You do realize the 95, 96 team, the only common players from that was Jordan and Pippen, because the 93 team had run its course, guys. It had. We act like he ran off 9 or 10 championships like Bill Russell. He won 3 in a row. He went off to retire, and the third one was really hard. The fourth one would have been really hard.
The fourth one would have been hard, but the timing and when he walked away from the game was also the problem too, because he left in October. He left in October, so the team was who they were going to be for that year. Minus him.
And all those role players were not very good anymore. They've become fat, dumb, and happy. And the gap between them and
so
everybody
you just argued against your own point.
No, I'm not. I'm because you're arguing they would have won it. I'm arguing they would not have won, right? And you talk about his 6th championship like they're unfettered, but they were stopped in the middle because he from his own personal thing and etc. And the gap was closing for them in that time.
Kid, are you mad?
Could you?
No, I'm not mad. They mad at me. I'm not mad. I have my opinion. You man, and you asked me. You asked me. I said it's wrong.
His hair ain't straightened out, so he ain't mad.
Here's our next one. And I know we got some at least one former Corvette owner.
Corvette all day long.
C8 or C7 and prior.
C7.
If you know the difference. So this is the new model year. C8. This is a C7.
C7 all day.
We got 2 former Corvette owners that say C7 or prior. Dwayne, what you think, man? C8 or C7?
Don't really have a dog in the fight, man. I don't give a flying flip for either one of them.
You gotta pick one. Flip a coin, man. Flip a coin.
I'd pick I'd probably pick the C8 just for it's newer.
Gotcha. Ty.
I always go with the older ones. So I'm gonna go with the 7.
All right. Looks like 7's gonna take this, man.
So can we give explanation as to why?
You can, sure.
So my perspective on this is the C8's not a bad car, and it's sound from a technology standpoint with the mid-engine. But I'm biased. I like my traditional American muscle, right? And that C7 is the last version of what American muscle looks like. The C8 is a European style based car. It is competing with Lamborghinis and etc. I don't want to look like them. I like ours.
Understandable. I feel you. So Lizelle, what you think, man?
I'm gonna go straight European. I like the C8, I guess. I think it's more aerodynamic. That's just me. I'm not much of a car guy as long as it gets me from point A to point B. Right?
Sound like
Like whatever.
But yeah, but I think that the aerodynamics of the C8, I think I like a little better. If I'm gonna go fast, I want to go real fast.
Well, they can both go real fast. The C7 is one of the fastest cars ever, I think.
So the C8 ain't?
Hey, they're both fast. I'll give that. They're both fast.
Wait, so the C8 ain't faster than the C7? It's a newer model and more
the
aerodynamic.
C8
It doesn't go past
R1
C7?
is the fastest production car ever made.
Yeah.
Tell us how you feel, Quake.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you want a C7? Get your C7 Z06. You got 650 horsepower. What more do you need out of a car?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy fast.
A back seat?
That Tesla Plaid's pretty bad.
What's that?
You're going for horsepower. The Tesla Plaid is pretty bad if you're going for
horsepower.
horsepower.
Yeah. If you're looking for speed, that's going to be your choice.
I wanted to look
0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
I wanted to look good, though.
And you can buy one on the front yard of the White House.
All right. Kid, what's your choice, Kid? What's your choice?
Hey, Dwayne, how'd you put it? You don't give a flying hoot. What'd you say?
Come on now. Look, Mr. Range Rover, you got to make a choice, Mr. Range Rover.
With Lizelle, you picked the blue one, right? I picked the blue one too. That's good.
The Carolina blue one. You should have known.
There you go.
Come on, here we go.
Look, I'm gonna go with the C8 simply because I don't like cars that have long front ends. Like even when I would see people draw pictures like when I was a kid of cars that had long front ends, I can't adapt to that. Like Dwayne, when without helmets. I don't even like full face helmets. I don't like full face helmets. I just don't like anything in front of me like that.
Hey, some people never grow out of driving a go-kart. You want to drive a go-kart, go get your C8.
I guess, man.
You want to drive a car, get your C7.
So what about a Rolls Royce, Paul? What about a Rolls Royce with the long?
I'm a small guy. I don't really need a big vehicle like that.
Go-karts.
Yeah, but I will say this though. You have to give Chevy credit for taking that step and actually producing that car.
That's marketing, Paul.
It is, but the C7 apparently have each reached the end of its kind of capabilities.
No.
The current format.
No.
You have because think about it.
It's like the Chicago Bulls in '95. I'm sorry.
No.
I'm sorry. Wrong. Not bad. Wrong.
So Paul, here's they're wanting to attract a younger target mark because traditionally Corvette owners have been older.
True.
And they also wanted to sell more cars over in Europe.
Absolutely, that's it.
And the C7 couldn't maneuver a lot of the streets in Europe, so they designed a car that not only would look comparatively to a lot of the cars coming out of Europe, but it can maneuver the streets. So that was the biggest thing.
Now, should we be concerned about tariffs in Europe?
It didn't matter at that
with the car.
It didn't matter at that time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have anybody making stupid tariffs.
And here's the thing about the C8. It was supposed to start at like 59. It was supposed to be an everyday man sports car that looks like a Ferrari, kind of like a Ferrari. Then they started jacking the prices up. That's what bothered me the most. When it went from like it's a $70,000 car, but we're gonna add on this surcharge of $30,000. That's what kind of turned up to. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic. This was an easy one. I know what everyone's probably going to say on this one. You remove this. Calling or text? Which you gonna do? You gonna call or you gonna text?
Text me. Text me.
All right.
Call me.
I think both have a purpose, right? I think both have a purpose.
I can't spell my way out of a paper sack with directions.
So we got one phone call in. So Dwayne is phone call.
No, call.
Ty is text. What you got, Quake? What was yours, Quake?
I think both are necessary, right? I think
come on, Quake.
The text, the text is convenient, right? But at points in time, and I'm guilty of this, I'm gonna pick up the phone and call all of y'all,
right?
Because it's personal.
But what's your choice? What's your favorite of the two?
Out of pure convenience, text.
All right, so we got 2 texts, 1 phone. Huh?
In this day and age, I gotta go text.
Text.
Now I will say the only issue with text is hard to decipher context.
Absolutely.
So I will say a tone, because if you're in a bad mood, you assuming they in a bad mood.
Right.
So that's the only issue I have with it. Yeah.
All right, Lizelle, what you on?
Call. What's up?
Okay.
Call.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we got
like
3
the context.
2, 3. All right, Ken, what you think? What's your favorite?
Call.
Like okay.
Same thing Ty said, for the same reason.
Okay. So I'm the tiebreaker. I think I'm the tiebreaker. It's 3-3.
What you gonna do with it?
To be fair, I'm not a big talker like that. I'm going new age. I'm going text. Because I'm just not a big talker like that. Just text me what you want me to hear. People talk a little bit less when they text, and give me that. So it's like text wins over talk. So it's the way it's going. It looks like.
That was close.
That's why it's situational.
What do I?
I know, right?
I said, where'd you pick your pictures from? It's a white guy with a rotary phone. We had a rotary phone.
Hey, Dwayne.
I did ask.
Hey, Dwayne, I did.
That's a hard sell.
Marketing.
Right
That's marketing.
Marketing.
Marketing. There you go.
I did that on purpose because we're all old farts. And that's what we can relate to. I did that on purpose. I knew somebody was going to ask about that, but we're all as old as that damn phone. So That's why I picked it.
Hey,
Wait,
one thing
you-
about
you-
the old phones, if you push the wrong number, we had to start over. And hang up and start completely over.
Yeah, you gotta start over.
Yep.
Paul, you went subliminal like that with the white shirt and black phone and the black guy in the white shirt and the black print. You did all of that. You went deep like that.
You know, that's the way it goes sometimes, man.
Woo.
I'm glad y'all figured that out. You know I'm not that smart, so I'm like, it just happened.
Woo. Fire.
So we got two more. We got two more. Now this kind of ties into what we talked about a little bit before, though. NFL or NBA?
NFL.
Which you pick? What's the premier? What's the best sport league between these two? And that kind of includes everything: what's on field, how they market, who rules.
Well, we know who rules. That's easy.
NBA.
Go ahead, Ty. Go ahead, Ty. Go
I'm
ahead,
just
Ty.
saying, we know NFL rules just based on the numbers, and it's year round. But I will say I do appreciate, and I guess it's hard to say that now with NFL where it is now, but I do appreciate the NBA having new champions every year the last 6-7 years. So it does give you that feeling that you have a chance going into it. And even now with the NFL now, even Ken and the Commodores have a chance. So it's changing.
He's still mad because they beat the Lions' ass.
I am very mad. I have not gotten over that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I have not gotten over that.
So you're
I will
NFL, Ty,
say,
right?
I think the evolution of the NBA is evolving faster than NFL as a league. With regards to the players and backgrounds, the diversity, NFL's taking off, man. I mean NBA. Sorry.
Well, which is your choice, though, Quake? Which is your choice, Quake? NFL, though.
I would prefer football over basketball.
Okay, Dwayne, who you picking, man?
I would say the NFL. I think the NBA and MLB baseball, both of them fight the same challenges. It's if you sell out for a whole year, you got 16 games in the NFL. If you sell out for a whole year in NBA or baseball, you got 160.
162.
So, I mean, yeah, you got a dang lot of games you got to keep up with and a lot of scenarios. So I think that's why NFL always keep it, because it's just we're such a fast-paced society. We want it in and out and over. I mean, both of those seasons are long on the other side.
Gotcha. All right. So you pick NFL then, right?
Yep.
Okay. Hump.
Yeah, as much as I am appreciative of the evolution of the NBA right now, the game is changing. There are a lot of people, especially old school, who can't stand it, but I love to see how it is evolving, and it is exciting to watch. But I will say, even as good as some of these games were in the playoffs this year, I was skipping quarters. I would skip a quarter of a game. An NFL game that matters, I ain't missing none of it. I'm missing every play because, to Dwayne's point, it is 16 games throughout the season. You can't
17.
You can't take a day off, right? It ain't a 7-game series. It's a game. It's one game, win, take all, and for that reason, I will stick with the NFL.
All right. Looks like NFL's gonna take this. Lozelle.
I'm gonna go with the NBA for a few reasons. A lot of the things already were covered. International game, which means that anywhere you can go in the world at this point, you can play it. Football is trying to catch on, but at the end of the day, it's lagging behind. Secondly, I like the longer series because it allows you for bigger drama. And in that same vein, there is something about watching somebody tear their Achilles in real time and watching the drama and the pain on their face that is good TV. I felt bad for the brother, but at the same time, when you see him smacking the floor yelling, no, 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 you're caught up. You're invested. When Jason Tatum went down, no, no, no. right? But when an NFL player goes down, they've got a helmet on, they've got a mask over their face, they're covered in pads, and the only time you really know they're really hurt is when they get a stretcher and they pull him off, right?
Wow.
So for me, I understand that sort of emotional drama, but I think that the NBA and to also to visit this point, it's great in the last 6 years or so that the NBA champions have been different, if for no other reason, they have learned the model of the NFL, which is parity. Everybody thinks that their team has a chance of winning in the NFL at the beginning of the season, and that's why it's so entertaining. The NBA is learning how to do that. Although I will say on this championship, I did not appreciate it as more because I did not feel the heightened drama of them having to go through something to get to something. Because every other time, Giannis had to climb the mountaintop, Jordan had to climb the mountaintop, LeBron had to climb the mountaintop,
Isaiah
et
Thomas.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
There you go.
Right? So, and that drama, that build is one of the things that I really like about the NBA. Because also in the NFL, and with the 16 games, you're right. One injury can ruin an entire season for a squad. I guess it's the same way in both sports, but I think it's really more apparent in like football. And I don't know why that is. Depending on the player. So anyway, NBA, that's the answer for me.
NBA. All right.
NBA.
Great points. Kid?
Yeah, I think it's inarguable that the NFL is king, right? I think everyone, Ty said that from the jump. But I'm an NBA guy. I always have been, always will be. I watch them both and don't miss anything of any game, right? I think it's, you can say respectfully, you can say that you'll watch every play of a good game on the NFL, but on any Sunday, and I have Sunday ticket and have all that shit on, they like more than half the games are bad. And a lot of the games on Sunday, you
watch the red zone.
Right, exactly. It's the presentation of it through red zone that keeps you from watching the fucking Jacksonville Jaguars and damn.
Or watching the Charlotte Hornets play against the Washington Wizards.
Wow.
True. But they're both the same.
That's a bad game right there.
They're both the same. The difference,
me and Paul are looking at bars.
The difference tends to be that on Sunday you can turn it to red zone or go find the game of the week, which they tend to promote better. Lizelle, I appreciate everything you said, man. The one thing I would say though about OKC did have to climb a mountain, right? Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, they're the same franchise that lost Durant, Westbrook, Harden, and have a hard time kind of getting free agents to come there. What their front office did is set on a course to build a franchise which is kind of built off the way I think the league will be for the next several years, building young, developing your players, making every transaction count, right? Not just trying to draft or trade for your savior, right? But rather every single player you bring in, you invested in them, in their role, and make them part of the organization, which is why they're deep, which is why they aren't as impacted by injuries. They got great facilities. They got a great training staff. They earned the title. And quite frankly, more and more teams are starting to do. Houston's doing the same thing. Detroit's doing the same thing.
Pelicans.
Washington is really bad, but a lot of organizations are moving away from trying to wait to get the next great draft pick, but rather invest properly in your team.
Who did this team have to really go through to get where they got?
Utah.
Everything you're talking about is boardroom moves.
The West.
You talking about boardroom?
The West.
They had to go through the West.
They had to go through everybody. They had to go through everybody.
But they were clearly the best team in the West all season.
Are we debating NBA or this NFL? NBA. Let's stay on topic.
Sorry.
Let's move on.
All right.
I'm gonna have to get your number. We're gonna have to call. We're gonna call each other off.
So where's the provocative at, Paul?
My choice is NBA. I mean, my choice is NFL. But I will say this: I think the NBA has the best athletes. Me personally. The skill level, the athleticism in the NBA is off the charts at this point. And I think that almost kind of hurts the NBA because there aren't any true superstars anymore. Was it SGA? That kid is good. I probably wouldn't know him if I saw him in the crowd, really. Right. I wouldn't be that excited if I saw him walking down the street.
That's what makes him a superstar?
Yes. If you see Jordan walking down the street, people go nuts still if they see Michael Jordan. If you see SGA, it's kind of like, hey, that's SGA.
But that's right now.
Can you get a man a chance to? Never mind. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Who in the league? Who in the league that's young? That's really like that. That's a star like that.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You're judging that on your reaction.
Giannis young
because as a 55-year-old man, not the 30-year-old who is.
I'm asking. Even my kids don't even look at him like that, and they like basketball. Like Wemby might be the guy. Wemby.
I feel like this. I think the way Magic said it is better than anybody else. A superstar is somebody. I don't care if your team is bad or not. You would pay to go see them play when they came to town. So that's to me. Now I love the way Magic said that, but he said that's the definition. When he comes to play your team, if your team is good or not, you want to go see them in person. You want to go see Jordan play. You want to go see even LeBron and all these. Right? It's people. Curry. It's players that you come to see. Yeah, to me, Giannis right now. Because you want
Curry,
to say I've seen them,
Giannis.
I've seen them live before. And
they're old guys
to me.
But
Paul,
he's right.
You said superstars.
But
you stop saying old guys.
But they still they don't go to the championship every year. So Giannis was a star. Right. Now it's kind of like Giannis is okay. It's Giannis.
What you said, Paul, was when Jordan walks down. When Jordan
Giannis
walks down the street,
superstar.
they recognize him. They recognize Curry. They recognize Giannis. They recognize James Harden. They recognize what?
You named about 3 or 4 old guys.
My point is you got to give SGA. You got to give SGA a chance.
Age. You said superstar.
And SGA's only been in the league for a minute.
These young guys are winning titles, and they still don't seem like superstar material to me.
That's exactly right.
How can they win
you know why?
Give them time.
No, you know why? Because the game is changing and turning into more of a team game with talent and all kinds of. And what you're saying, Pete, actually the NBA is becoming more like the NFL in that way. That it's about the team and about like we are so fucking nostalgic about that a Curry or LeBron or these guys got to be gods. Why come they just can't be when the last 2 or 3 champions hadn't had that kind of guy winning title? Like the biggest news this week was Durant move around. Durant, you said the other day, Durant ain't gonna move the needle anymore. It's about who's the better unit. And we accept that in the NFL, we accept it in baseball, but for the NBA, we've got to laud these guys like they're gods. And it just ain't the thing anymore. It's going away.
I don't accept it in any sport. For example, Dwayne, I think our sport of motocross needs a superstar to grow.
Time out.
No, I'm telling
you. Hijack the conversation.
You could not.
You hijacked the whole conversation with motocross.
No, you didn't. Come on.
Ty, you know I had to throw that in there, though, man.
You can't do that. I know you didn't do that.
Let me move on. Let me move on to the last question.
But show a picture of that rainbow outfit you had. I digress. Dwayne, I hope you don't wear that rainbow outfit. I know you don't being on the right. I know you don't.
All right. They saw my riding gear for the weekend, Dwayne. They said I was wearing the rainbow.
I seen it. I was there. I watched
it. I know, right? We parked right beside him. So I'm like, so this is our last question, fellas. And be honest on this. 10 in the face, 4 in the body, 4 in the face, 10 in the body. What's your choice?
What are you talking about?
You know exactly what I'm talking about, especially you, Ty.
Wow.
I'll go first. 4 in the face, 10 in the body. I'm done.
There we go. Hold on. Lizelle is 4 in the face, 10 in the body. Man, after my own guts, hold Hump, let's go. What you got, man? Which one you choose?
What are we talking about though?
You know it. You
what's my
know
overall
it.
parameter? What am I trying to achieve here?
I don't understand.
You know exactly what you're trying to achieve.
Skeet.
Know that like you don't.
I go with the top. 10 to face.
10 in the face. All right.
Wait, you a hump dancer.
So here's the thing, right? What time of the night is this?
That's what I'm asking.
How many drinks have been poured?
I just need to know what time is a good time to get 10 in the face. What time is a good? What time is it?
This is master's degree Quake talking.
Hey, hold up. I'm gonna take it back to what Fred Sanford once said when they were trying to pair off Betty Jean to Lamont. And Fred said, "Oh, you can fix a body, but you can't fix ugly."
Amen.
He said Betty Jean is a pretty girl. She can lose the weight. She can't fix ugly.
There's some factors in this thing we ain't talking about, man. Now everybody wants a 10. Let's go for that. But as the night goes on, things wind down, the room start thinning out. Your choices get slim. You have to change some standards sometimes.
So what you taking? Face or body?
I'm gonna start with the face. I gotta start with the face.
All right, okay, all right. Dwayne, what's your choice? Great face or great body?
I'd probably go with great body. You can always use a bag.
All right.
What do you say? His phone went out. What did you say?
You think you can always use a bag?
Oh, man.
That's a great point.
He going with the body.
That's a great point.
What you going with, Ty?
Based on my selection from the last this or that in missionary, I'm have to go with the face. I got to look at you. It got to be. Yeah.
All right, the great body, great face, so body, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but if I was doing Quake and doing the back shots, like he said, I would go.
All right, kid. What's your MO?
How dark is the fucking room, dude?
Marcus.
Make it a little darker.
Clapper.
So what you going with, kid?
I probably 10 in the face.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
That's always the famous last words, though. She's got a beautiful face.
Exactly.
3 accent was wide.
That is true. That is true.
Because you can't unsee ugly either, right? That's the one thing.
Good one.
Just like the damn feet from. I still got that nightmare. I woke up like, God damn, those ugly feet. So,
oh man,
you can't unsee that shit, man.
That is very true. So I guess I'm the last up here. I'm with Lizelle, man. It must be the water we were drinking in Marytown, Lizelle, because I've never been like in the super girls that the faces are super pretty. Like I just kind of lucked up that my wife is very attractive.
Well, I'm glad you fixed that. Go ahead.
That's just the way that works. But I'm just saying, I have had girlfriends where I did not look at their face at all. So
wow.
I'm definitely on that 4 in the face, 10 in the body.
There's nobody in here that ain't had a butterface. Ain't nobody on here ain't had a butterface. Come on.
Hey, I'm good.
Nobody knows what a butterface is?
Yeah, everything's a good
butterface.
Y'all got quiet. I was like, I ain't the only one.
No, you're not the only one.
I know,
You
right?
better off saying a booty do.
All right, got more stomach that'll be. Yeah.
What time of the night is it? I keep telling you, y'all think I'm not joking.
Hey, it might be daytime, Quake. Might be daytime.
Hey, might be. Pickets get slim, brother. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I suppose. Well, look, we've come to the end of another spirited and interesting episode. So we've always finished this off with our final thoughts, where each person gets to kind of give their last thoughts for the night, just anything they want to say. So why don't we start at the top, Ken? why don't you give us your final thoughts for this episode?
I think I'm just going to end on a positive note tonight, right? Like I started my question around.
Time out. Say that again. Get this and record this again.
It's being recorded. The record button's still on top. So. I'm still optimistic that things gonna get better, right? And my challenge is to everybody who watches or hears us, right? That like we lean into our better selves and try to stay generally positive about things, right? Even if you negative about some things like politics or religion or people's lifestyles, I think we're all better off when we try to find our better angels and just try to treat each other like the way we want to be treated, right? So nothing more deeper than that the thing I'm going to be optimistic about is I'm hoping that all of us are good more than we are not good.
So. Okay. All right, Lizelle.
Gentlemen, I just want to first say that I have truly enjoyed my time with you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your club in the hopes that at some point in time, again, I'll be able to join the party. In the meantime, I look forward to watching you all continue to beat the hell out of my brother. So with all of that being said, because I do love him at the end of the day. And Dwayne, I think you may have gotten off the hook tonight, my man. But it's okay. It's all right, because I'm sure you will have time to get got. With that being said, maybe Dwayne, they'll bring you on with my brother so that he will be able to talk with someone who understands what he's saying. But with that being said,
let me make a point real quick. We have another friend named Bobby who is going to be right up Rich's alley. We're gonna get Bobby on sometime, Dwayne. Go ahead. My apologies.
No worries. No, I look forward to that episode, definitely. And all I'm gonna say is that the one thing is I hear we talking about policy and this administration and not being able to understand each other, whether it be social media or television or just plain conversations where it feels like there's a division that's happening that we may not be able to cross at some point in time. And I say that to say we really need to work on our listening skills.
Yes.
We need to figure out a way to get past the sarcasm and the gotcha and the I'm gonna one up you. And more importantly, as I tell my kids when I try to tell them something and they tell me, you don't know what you're talking about. And then, I don't know, a week later, a month later, 6 months later, they'll come back and go, you know, Daddy, you was right. And I said, that wasn't the point. I don't want to be right. I just want you to be right and be okay. There's no award for me being right. So what I'm trying to get at is we need to worry less about wanting to just be so right to try to find that middle ground. And that's what I got.
Good takeaway, Lizelle.
Perfect. All right, Dwayne, you want to jump in next?
I appreciate y'all letting me come on too and whatnot. And I think the world would be, you know, I'm the only white guy on the thing tonight, but I think the world would be a better place if people could have more places like this to where you could actually talk, you know, it out. And I grew up in the eastern part of the state and whatnot. And I had a lot, you know, 50% of my school was black. And a lot of things that come out, you know, when you can actually talk to each other to where when y'all are together or all the people in the building are white, it shouldn't be a difference there. It ought to be more, ought to be easier to talk between races and talk between Democrat and Republican and this, that, and the other without having to raise your voice and being somewhat cordial. We should all be able to voice our opinion without having to hear the consequences behind your opinion. I think the world would be a better place in that event. In my eyes, I don't mind hearing your opinion, and I don't mind listening to your opinion. I don't want to try to, like you were saying, one up somebody or put them down for their opinion. Nobody gets built up from that.
Right. Great point. Great point.
Great points.
All right. Yep. Quick.
So I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll share it again. In the midst of all the turmoil, all the noise, right? Find your happy place, right? I intentionally tune out things for periods of time just to keep my sanity. Whether it could be political based, it could be work related, it could be socially, but find your place because you have to maintain the balance, right? Everybody on this calls, husband, father, neighbor, sibling, spouse, what have you. In order to maintain balance in your life and not have an offset, you need that peace, right? We need to be whole in order to function at optimum capability. You know, your wives and your children, they need you. Your jobs, whatever you do, or you contribute your time and efforts to make this place better. And this place I'm talking about is the world, right? We're always going to have different perspectives and different inputs, but we have to stay on the field and stay in the fight because it's the right thing to do. I know we talk about a lot of issues and subjects whenever we have this platform, but let's not lose focus. There's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of work to do. But make sure you maintain that just to give yourself that peace you need to keep fighting.
All right. Excellent. Ty?
Well, Dwayne kind of hit my point. Was having this right here is therapy. Again, we talk about it all the time, but men talking, having conversations, serious mixed with, a little sarcasm, it just goes a long way just to kind of helping your blood pressure, helping you be vulnerable, and just having them conversations you can't have everywhere else. So we should all find a place. We talk about the barbershop all the time, but most of us on here, we have a regular text stream that we talk on all the time. And with life and like it is, especially with us getting older, this is important. So, like to what Quake said, find your happy place, but find somewhere where if you're not so happy, you still have a place you can go to.
Yep. All right. Excellent. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the downside of going last is you get a lot of folks touching on a lot of things you already wanted to say, but we pull this together, and whether we're arguing over the greatest athlete or the latest election, who got snubbed in an award, one thing's for sure, we're all just looking for someone or something to believe in. I mean, that's across the board. All of us, whether as you're growing up, it was your dad, your mom, your uncle, someone you saw on television. You always just look for someone to believe in. Politics give us power struggles. We jump into that. Sports gives us heroes and heartbreaks, and we jump into that. Entertainment gives us an escape. We stream and we go watch, a television show, and takes us away from reality. But the trick is knowing which one you're watching, not confusing any of them, and most importantly, when to turn it off. There's a lot of influencers out there right now in the world that are driving the way people think and how they behave. But sometimes you just got to take a step and turn it off and get back to who you are and get centered. So my final thought is all this is fun. Everything that we do and live on a day-to-day basis, But take that time to turn it all off and get yourself recentered whenever you get a chance to.
Before you go, Paul, just to go with what Hump just said, you know, in the words of a great philosopher, if you have to believe something,
Why not believe in me?
Oh
Daddy
my God.
Rich.
Oh man.
Daddy Rich.
Oh my
I watch
God.
TV tonight. I see.
Boy.
Daddy
Y'all are
Rich.
good. Y'all are a good group of brothers, man. I gotta give you credit, man. Let me first start off by saying, Rich, we wish you could have made it tonight. Hopefully,
we
we'll have
don't.
you next week.
No.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
Oh, man.
We'll give up Rich and 2 panelists to be named later to keep Lizelle. That's the motion on the floor. That's the trade on the floor.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all got it. Hold it down. Y'all got it.
Well, look, I just want to say, you know, we haven't had our health issue yet, men's health. We're going to have an issue on health and maintaining your health. We're all in our 50s. And I got the chance to go race this weekend. Well, I was riding a little bit. I really wasn't racing. Dwayne was up front as usual. But stay healthy, stay exercising. Kid and Hump, Ty, they're all on their you know, they're posting every day of the exercise they're doing. Stay healthy. And just as Quake said, find your happy place. So my happy place is ride my dirt bike. I didn't even realize that I kind of missed it. So even though I had a bad weekend in terms of my results, it was good to get back on the bike. You know, it's good to get back out and just twist the throttle a little bit, and you know, just try to keep your health, maintain your health, and always find something that you enjoy in life. You know, you need a release. Riding is a release to me. This is a release as well. As Tom mentioned, it can be therapeutic, but just find something that you enjoy. Try to stay healthy, and you know, that's my shot for the week. My parting individual thought. All right, well, fellas, I want to thank everybody for joining and giving their input, giving their insight. And Lizelle, you sparked a heated UBAD conversation for sure with that Deion Sanders.
You made P mad.
You made P mad.
Oh, that's always gonna be a hot one for me.
Whatever.
For
It's
sure.
okay. You're still wrong. You know, I mean, you're wrong, but it's okay. We can't all be right, and we can't be right all the time. But you're wrong. All right.
And Dwayne, thanks for joining. Dwayne and Lizelle, thanks for joining at the last minute. Just got tied up and didn't get it out quick enough, but glad to have you guys back whenever you want to come on. And appreciate everybody's input. Thanks for making it a great episode again.
No doubt.
Appreciate y'all, brothers.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Have a good one.
Have a good night, brothers. Yeah.
All right,
Night.
y'all have a great. My crew too fresh, you mad, huh? See us flexing in these streets, you mad, huh? Diversity of thought, you mad, huh? Educated black men, you mad, huh?